You wanted the court? Now it's yours.
The sound of my wife's laughter drifted through the sliding glass door like poison in the evening air. I stood in my own kitchen, holding a beer that had gone warm in my hand, listening to Marta and her friends dissect my life on our back patio. "Honestly, girls, I don't think this marriage will last another year," Marta's voice carried clearly through the screen. "He's falling so far below my level. It's embarrassing." The chorus of agreement that followed hit me like a physical blow. These women had eaten at my table, smiled at my jokes, accepted my hospitality for 15 years. Now they were picking apart my worth like vultures circling a fallen body. I mean, look at him, continued Rebecca, Marta's college roommate. Still going to that disgusting boxing gym at 45. What's he trying to prove? "And that job," added another voice I recognized as Linda from the country club. "Assistant manager at a finance firm? Please, my gardener makes more money." I set the beer down carefully on the granite countertop that I'd worked overtime to afford. The same countertop where Marta had kissed me just this morning, telling me she loved me before heading off to her high-powered PR job downtown. "The worst part," Marta continued, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper that somehow carried even clearer, "is that he actually thinks he's good enough for me. Like we're equals or something. It's almost sweet, in a pathetic way." The laughter that erupted made my stomach turn. But something else was building inside me, something cold and calculating that I hadn't felt since my corporate days when I'd had to outmaneuver backstabbing colleagues and two-faced clients. I walked to the sliding door and stepped onto the patio. The conversation died instantly, 4 pairs of eyes turning to me with expressions ranging from embarrassment to barely concealed contempt. "Ladies," I said, my voice perfectly calm, "lovely evening, isn't it?" Marta's face had gone pale beneath her carefully applied makeup. "David, we were just discussing my inadequacies as a husband?" I smiled, the expression feeling sharp as broken glass. "Please, don't let me interrupt. I was particularly interested in the part about me being below your level, sweetheart." The silence stretched like a taut wire. Rebecca cleared her throat awkwardly. Linda suddenly found her wine glass fascinating. "Actually," I continued, still smiling, "why wait a year? Let's end it now." I turned and walked back into the house, leaving them speechless on the patio. Behind me, I heard frantic whispering and the scraping of chairs. Good. Let them scramble. In my home office, I pulled out my laptop and began making a list. If Marta wanted to play games about levels, I'd show her exactly how far someone could fall. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "You need to know something before it's too late. Meet me at Riverside Diner tomorrow, 2 p.m. Come alone. L. Linda? No, that didn't make sense. She'd been laughing along with the rest of them. But who else could it be? I was still staring at the message when Marta appeared in the doorway, her friends apparently having fled. She looked smaller somehow, less commanding than she had on the patio. "David, I'm sorry you heard that. We were just venting. You know how girls talk." "Do I?" I leaned back in my chair, studying her face. "Because I thought I knew a lot of things about you, Marta. Turns out I might have been wrong." She stepped into the room, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. "You're being dramatic. We've been married for 15 years. We've had our ups and downs, but I'm below your level now." I kept my voice conversational. "When did that happen exactly? Was it when I took the demotion to spend more time with the kids? When I started going to the gym to stay healthy for you? Or was it gradual, like watching someone drown in slow motion?" "It wasn't like that," but her voice lacked conviction. "Wasn't it?" I stood up, and she instinctively took a step back. Interesting. "Tell me, Marta, what would constitute your level? What kind of man would be worthy of the great Marta Sullivan?" She didn't answer, but something flickered in her eyes. Guilt, fear, or something else entirely. "I'm going to bed," she said finally. "We can talk about this tomorrow when you've calmed down." After she left, I sat in the darkness of my office thinking. 15 years of marriage, 2 kids, a mortgage, shared dreams and disappointments. Had it all been a lie? Or had I simply been too blind to see what was happening? I picked up my phone and scrolled through our recent text exchanges. Marta's messages had become increasingly brief and businesslike. "Working late again? Don't wait up. Out with the girls." How many nights had she been working late recently? How many girls' nights had there been? I opened her laptop. We'd always shared passwords, another sign of trust that now felt naive. Her browser history was clean, too clean, but I knew computers, knew how to dig deeper. 20 minutes later, I found what I was looking for. Hidden in a folder labeled Work Presentations were screenshots of text messages, messages that made my blood run cold. Can't wait to see you tonight, beautiful. Your husband is such a loser. You deserve so much better. When are you going to leave him? I'm tired of sneaking around. The contact was saved as B, but the phone number was unfamiliar. I cross-referenced it online and felt my world shift on its axis. Ben Morrison, real estate developer. 38 years old, never married, inherited money. I'd seen his picture in the society pages, usually with some young model on his arm. Now he was texting my wife about what a loser I was. I kept digging. Hotel receipts charged to a credit card I didn't recognize. Dinner reservations for 2 at restaurants I'd never been to. A whole secret life I'd been oblivious to. But the worst part was the final message thread I found, dated just 3 days ago. B. Your husband looked pathetic at the grocery store yesterday. How do you stand it? M. Not much longer. My lawyer says I can take him for everything. House, retirement, the works. B. Good. Then we can finally be together properly. No more slumming it with the help. M. He has no idea what's coming, poor David. Still thinks we're happy. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. Poor David. They were already talking about me in the past tense, like I was already gone. My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number, but this time, there was an attachment. A video file. I opened it and immediately wished I hadn't. Shaky phone camera footage of Marta at what looked like a party, holding court with a group of people I didn't recognize. And there, with his arm around her waist, was Ben Morrison. So I told him I was working late. Marta's voice came through clearly. Meanwhile, I'm here with you gorgeous people, drinking champagne that cost more than his monthly salary. The crowd laughed. Ben leaned down and whispered something in her ear that made her giggle like a teenager. The best part, she continued, is that he actually thinks he has a chance of keeping me, like I'm going to spend the rest of my life with someone who peaked in high school. More laughter. Someone off camera shouted, "What are you waiting for? Dump the dead weight." Soon, Marta replied, raising her glass. Very soon. Then I can finally be with someone who's actually worth my time. The video ended with Ben kissing her neck while she smiled for the camera. I sat in the darkness for a long time after that, listening to the house settle around me. Upstairs, I could hear water running, Marta getting ready for bed, probably washing off the scent of another man's cologne. Tomorrow, I would meet whoever had sent me that cryptic message. Tonight, I would lie next to my wife and pretend to sleep while she planned my destruction. But Marta had made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated me. Again. I opened a new document on my computer and began typing. If she wanted to play games about levels, I'd show her what happened when someone truly fell from grace. The game was on. The Riverside Diner squatted beside the highway like a relic from a better decade, all chrome and cracked vinyl. I'd been coming here since college, back when the coffee was stronger and the waitresses knew everyone's name. Now it was just another place that time had forgotten. I spotted her immediately. Lila Hendricks sat in a corner booth, her perfectly manicured fingers wrapped around a coffee cup that probably cost less than her nail appointment. Marta's best friend since college, the woman who'd been at our wedding, who'd held my daughter when she was born, the woman who'd been laughing at me on my own patio just 24 hours ago. David. She stood as I approached, her smile nervous and uncertain. Thank you for coming. Let's skip the pleasantries, Lila. What do you want? She gestured for me to sit, but I remained standing. After a moment, she sank back down, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. I need to tell you something about Marta, she began. Something you need to know before what? Before she divorces me and takes everything? Before she runs off with her boyfriend? I already know about Ben Morrison. Lila's eyes widened. You know about Ben? I know about a lot of things. I slid into the booth across from her, studying her face. What I don't know is why you're here. Last night you were laughing along with the rest of them. Today you're playing concerned friend. What changed? She looked down at her hands. I never wanted it to go this far. What to go this far? The plan. Marta's plan. She met my eyes and I saw something that might have been genuine remorse. David, she's going to destroy you. Not just divorce you, destroy you. She's been setting you up for months. A chill ran down my spine. Setting me up how? The credit cards in your name that you don't know about, the loans she took out using your signature, the gambling debts she's been racking up online. Lila's voice dropped to a whisper. She's been building a case that you're financially irresponsible, that you've been hiding money and debts from her. I felt the world tilt. That's impossible. I handle all our finances. Not anymore. She's been forging your signature for 6 months, David, creating a paper trail that makes you look like a compulsive liar and a financial disaster. When she files for divorce, she's going to claim you hid debts from her, that you've been gambling away your children's college funds. The coffee I'd ordered turned to acid in my stomach. Why are you telling me this? Lila was quiet for a long moment. Because I have a daughter too. And if someone was doing this to my husband, destroying my child's father, I'd want someone to warn him. But you helped her plan it. I gave her advice when she said she was unhappy. I never thought... She stopped, shook her head. I never thought she'd go this far. The Ben thing, the financial stuff, the things she's been saying about you, it's gotten out of control. I leaned forward. What things has she been saying? That you've been emotionally harmful, that you've threatened her. She's been documenting everything, David, taking pictures of bruises from the gym and claiming you gave them to her, recording conversations out of context to make you sound threatening. The diner suddenly felt too small, too hot. She's building a domestic misuse case. Not just that. She's been telling people you've been drinking heavily, that you've become unstable since your demotion. She's painting a picture of a man in crisis, someone who might do something desperate when he finds out about the divorce. I thought about the video from last night, about Marta's laughter as she described my inadequacies to a room full of strangers. This wasn't just about falling out of love or finding someone better. This was systematic destruction. There's more, Lila continued. She's been going through your things, looking for anything she can use against you. That boxing gym you go to? She's been telling people you come home angry and violent. Those late nights you spend in your office, she says you're looking at inappropriate websites. All lies. I know, but she's documented everything, David. Photos, recordings, witnesses who will testify to your erratic behavior. By the time she's done, you'll be lucky to get supervised visitation with your kids. I sat back, trying to process the scope of what Marta had planned. This wasn't just about money or even Ben Morrison. This was about erasing me completely, rewriting our history so that I became the villain in our story. Why now? I asked. Why are you warning me now? Lila pulled out her phone and showed me a text message. Because she sent me this yesterday. The message was from Marta. Phase 2 starts tomorrow. Make sure you remember what we discussed about David's concerning behavior at the gym. Your testimony will be crucial. She wants me to lie in court, Lila said. Say I witnessed you being violent, that I was afraid for her safety. And if I don't, she trailed off. If you don't? She has photos of me with someone who isn't my husband. From a conference last year. Nothing happened, but the photos look bad. She's threatening to send them to Robert unless I cooperate. So that was it. Marta wasn't just destroying me. She was collecting leverage on everyone around her, making sure she had an army of witnesses ready to testify to whatever story she wanted to tell. There's something else, Lila said. Something worse. I couldn't imagine what could be worse than what she'd already told me. Amelia, she said, naming my daughter. Marta's been working on her, filling her head with stories about how you've changed, how you've become distant and angry. She's convinced your own daughter that you're dangerous. The words hit me like a physical blow. Amelia was 20, home from college for the summer. She'd been distant lately, avoiding me, spending all her time with her mother. I'd assumed it was normal young adult behavior, the natural process of growing up and away from her parents. But it wasn't natural at all. It was manufactured. She's been telling Amelia that she's afraid of you, that she's been hiding money in case she needs to leave quickly. Your daughter thinks she's protecting her mother from a controlling and emotionally harmful husband. I put my head in my hands. The scope of Marta's betrayal was breathtaking. She hadn't just cheated on me, she'd poisoned my own child against me. What about Ross? I asked, thinking of my son. He's older, more skeptical, but Marta's working on him too. She's been telling him that your job troubles are because of drinking, that you've been hiding financial problems from the family. When I looked up, Lila was watching me with something that might have been pity. I'm sorry, David, I should have told you sooner. I should have stopped her when I realized how far she was willing to go. But you didn't. No, I didn't. She reached across the table and touched my hand. But I'm telling you now, you still have time to protect yourself, to fight back. I pulled my hand away. How? If she's been planning this for months, if she has documentation and witnesses and my own daughter believing her lies, what can I do? You're smarter than she thinks you are, Lila said. She's always underestimated you, David. Even in college, she used to say you were too nice, too trusting. She thinks you'll roll over and accept whatever she dishes out. Maybe I should. Maybe it would be easier. For who? For you? For your kids when they realize what their mother really is. Lila leaned forward. She's not going to stop with destroying you, David. She's going to rewrite history so that she's the victim and you're the monster. Your children will grow up believing their father was cruel and harmful, and a failure. The thought of Amelia and Ross thinking of me that way was unbearable. But what could I do? Marta had been planning this for months, building her case piece by piece while I'd been obliviously going about my life. There might be a way, Lila said quietly. But you'd have to be willing to fight dirty. I met her eyes. What do you mean? She's not as careful as she thinks she is. The affair with Ben, the financial manipulation, the lies she's been telling, there's evidence of all of it. But you'd have to be willing to use it. Use it how? The same way she's planning to use her lies about you. Public humiliation, David. She's counting on you being too much of a gentleman to fight back. She thinks you'll take whatever she dishes out to protect the family's reputation. I thought about the laughter on my patio, about the video of Marta mocking me to strangers, about my daughter being turned against me by carefully crafted lies. What did you have in mind? Lila smiled, and for the first time since I'd sat down, she looked like the sharp, calculating woman I'd always known her to be. Marta's throwing a party next weekend, a big charity fundraiser at the country club. All of her important friends and colleagues. She's planning to announce your separation there, paint herself as the brave woman finally escaping a toxic and controlling marriage. So what if the truth came out first? What if everyone at that party learned about Ben Morrison, about the financial fraud, about the lies she's been telling? What if, instead of being seen as the victim, she was exposed as the manipulator she really is? I sat back, considering. It was tempting, but it was also dangerous. She'd destroy me in court. Use it as evidence of my unstable behavior. Not if you do it right, not if you have proof of everything she's done. Lila pulled out a flash drive and slid it across the table. Text messages between her and Ben. Bank records showing the fraudulent accounts. Photos of them together. Even recordings of her laughing about her plan to destroy you. I stared at the small device. You've been documenting everything. Insurance, she said. I never trusted Marta completely. Even when we were friends, I always kept records of our conversations, just in case. And now you're giving them to me. Because what she's doing is wrong. Because your children deserve to know the truth about their mother. And because... She paused. Because I'm tired of being afraid of her. I picked up the flash drive, feeling its weight in my palm. Such a small thing to contain the destruction of a 15-year marriage. If I do this, I said, there's no going back. Our marriage will be over publicly and permanently. David, Lila said gently, your marriage is already over. She ended it months ago. You just didn't know it yet. She was right. The woman I'd married, the woman I'd loved for 15 years, was gone. In her place was a stranger who saw me as nothing more than an obstacle to be removed. One more thing, I said as Lila prepared to leave. Why should I trust you? How do I know this isn't part of her plan too? Lila was quiet for a moment. Then she pulled out her phone and showed me another message. This one from earlier that morning. From Marta, she said, about our meeting today. The message read, if you told him anything, you're dead to me. And Robert will get those photos by tonight. I looked up at Lila, seeing the fear in her eyes. Because, she said, I'm not the only one she's planning to destroy. The boxing gym smelled like sweat and old leather, an honest stench that cut through the lies I'd been living with. I'd been coming here for 3 years, ever since my demotion, when I needed somewhere to channel my frustration that wasn't my home or my family. Now it felt like the only place left where I could be myself. You're hitting like you're angry at the bag, Sal Martinez observed, wrapping my hands with practiced efficiency. At 65, he'd trained fighters who'd gone professional, but he treated every member like they had championship potential. Maybe I am angry. Good. Angry fighters hit harder, but smart fighters win more. He finished the rap and looked me in the eye. What's eating you, David? I'd been debating whether to tell anyone about Marta's plan. Part of me still hoped there was a way to handle this privately, to salvage something from the wreckage of my marriage. But looking at Sal's weathered face, seeing genuine concern there, I found myself talking. I told him everything. The overheard conversation, the meeting with Lila, the evidence of Marta's systematic campaign to destroy me. Sal listened without interruption, occasionally nodding or grunting, his expression growing darker with each revelation. She's been telling people I come home violent from here, I finished, using the gym as evidence that I'm dangerous. Sal's face went hard. That's BS, and everyone here knows it. You're one of the most controlled fighters I've ever trained. Never seen you lose your temper, not once. Doesn't matter what's true. Matters what people believe. Then we change what people believe. Sal stood up, his joints creaking. You said she's having a party at the country club? This Saturday, some charity fundraiser. She's planning to announce our separation there, make herself look like the victim. And you're planning to beat her to the punch? I'm thinking about it, but I'm not sure I can go through with it, destroying her publicly in front of all those people. She's already destroying you, Sal pointed out. The only question is whether you're going to fight back or just take the beating. He had a point, but there was something else bothering me, something I hadn't told Lila or even fully admitted to myself. What if I'm wrong? I said. What if there's an explanation for all this? Some way to work things out? Sal gave me a look that was equal parts sympathy and exasperation. David, how long you been married? 15 years. In 15 years, you ever known your wife to do anything without a plan? Anything that wasn't calculated to get her what she wanted? I thought about it. Marta was nothing if not strategic. She'd planned our wedding like a military campaign, orchestrated our children's lives with precision, built her career through careful networking and calculated moves. No, I admitted. Then why would she start now? This isn't some emotional breakdown or midlife crisis. This is Marta being Marta, just with you as the target instead of the beneficiary. The truth of that hit me like a punch to the gut. I'd been thinking of this as a betrayal, as my wife suddenly turning into someone I didn't recognize. But that wasn't what had happened at all. Marta hadn't changed. I'd just finally seen who she really was. There's something else, I said. My kids. Amelia already thinks I'm some kind of monster. If I do this, if I expose everything publicly, what's that going to do to them? What's it going to do to them if you don't? Sal countered. You think they're better off believing their father is someone who caused harm and a failure? You think that's the legacy you want to leave them? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A text from Amelia. Dad, can we talk? Coffee tomorrow? I showed the message to Sal, who read it and frowned. Could be good, he said. Could be bad. Either she's starting to see through her mother's lies, or Marta's sent her to do reconnaissance. Only one way to find out. But as I left the gym that evening, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was walking into another trap. Marta had been planning this for months, thinking 3 moves ahead while I'd been playing checkers. What were the odds that Amelia's sudden desire to talk was coincidental? At home, the house felt like a stage set. Marta was in the kitchen, preparing dinner with the same efficient grace she brought to everything. She looked up when I entered, her smile bright and artificial. How was the gym, honey? Fine. I grabbed a beer from the refrigerator, studying her face for any sign that she knew about my meeting with Lila. But Marta's expression remained perfectly pleasant, perfectly normal. Amelia wants to have coffee tomorrow, I said. Something flickered in Marta's eyes, too quick to interpret. Oh, that's nice. You two haven't spent much time together lately. No, we haven't. I took a sip of beer, tasting nothing. Any idea what she wants to talk about? You know how college kids are, probably wants money for something. Marta turned back to the stove, but I caught her reflection in the window. She was smiling. Not a pleasant smile, a satisfied one. That night I lay in bed listening to Marta breathe beside me, wondering if she was really asleep or just pretending. The woman I'd shared a bed with for 15 years had become a stranger, and I had no idea what she was thinking or planning. But I had a pretty good guess about what tomorrow's coffee with Amelia would bring. I was right. The next morning I arrived at the campus coffee shop to find my daughter already waiting, her laptop open, fingers flying over the keyboard. At 20, Amelia looked more like her mother every day. The same sharp features, the same calculating intelligence behind her eyes. Hey, Dad. She closed the laptop as I sat down, but not before I caught a glimpse of what looked like a recording app on the screen, so that's how it was going to be. Amelia, you look good. How's summer school treating you? It's fine. She fidgeted with her coffee cup, not meeting my eyes. Dad, I wanted to talk to you about Mom. What about her? She's been different lately, worried about things, about you. I kept my expression neutral. Worried how? She says you've been under a lot of stress since the demotion, that you've been drinking more, staying out late, getting angry over little things. Amelia finally looked at me and I saw genuine concern in her eyes. She's scared, Dad. Scared of what? Of you, of what you might do if you keep spiraling like this. The words hit exactly as they were meant to. My own daughter, the little girl I'd taught to ride a bike and helped with homework and walk down the aisle at her high school graduation, was sitting across from me suggesting I was dangerous. Amelia, I said carefully, has your mother asked you to record this conversation? Her face went red. I don't know what you mean. The laptop, the app that was running when I sat down, are you recording me right now? She looked away, confirming my suspicion. Mom said you might get paranoid, that you'd think people were plotting against you. And what do you think? I think my father used to be someone I could trust, someone who would never hurt our family. But lately, she trailed off, shaking her head. Lately, what? You've changed, Dad. You're angry all the time, distant. Mom has to walk on eggshells around you. And the money problems. What money problems? Don't pretend you don't know. The credit card bills, the loans you've been taking out. Mom showed me the statements. I felt a chill run through me. The fraudulent accounts Lila had warned me about. Marta was already using them, already building her case. Amelia, those accounts aren't mine. I've never seen those statements before. Dad, please, don't lie to me. Not now. Her voice broke slightly. Mom says you've been gambling online, that you've been hiding debts from her. She's trying to protect the family, but she can't do it alone anymore. I stared at my daughter, seeing Marta's handiwork in every word she spoke. This wasn't just about turning Amelia against me. It was about making her a willing participant in my destruction. What does your mother want from you? I asked. She wants me to help, to document your behavior, to be a witness if things get bad enough that she has to leave. And you agreed to that? I agreed to protect my mother from her controlling and emotionally harmful husband. The words came out sharp, practiced. Because that's what you are, isn't it, Dad? That's what you've become. I sat back, feeling the full weight of what Marta had accomplished. She hadn't just turned my daughter against me, she'd made Amelia believe she was the hero in this story, the brave daughter protecting her vulnerable mother. I want you to listen to me very carefully, I said. Everything your mother has told you is a lie. I have never hurt her, never threatened her, never taken out loans or gambled or done any of the things she's claiming. She's having an affair, Amelia. She's been planning to leave me for months, and she's building a case to make sure she gets everything in the divorce. Amelia's face hardened. You're sick, Dad. Blaming Mom for your own problems? Trying to make her the villain when you're the one who's been destroying our family? I can prove it. I have evidence. Evidence of what? More paranoid delusions? More lies to cover up your own behavior? She stood up, grabbing her laptop. I thought maybe we could work this out, that you might be willing to get help. But you're too far gone, aren't you? Amelia, please, just don't. She backed away from the table. Mom was right about you. You're not the man who raised me anymore. You're just a pathetic, angry drunk who can't accept responsibility for his own failures. She left without another word, leaving me sitting alone with the wreckage of our relationship. Around me, other customers pretended not to stare, but I could feel their eyes, their judgment. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. How did it go with Daddy? B. I stared at the message, realizing what had happened. Ben Morrison had been coaching Amelia, probably through Marta. My daughter hadn't just been turned against me, she'd been manipulated and used as a tool. Another text, this one from Marta. Amelia says you're getting worse. Maybe it's time you got some help, David, before you do something we'll all regret. I looked around the coffee shop, at the normal people living their normal lives, and wondered how I'd ended up here. 3 days ago, I'd been a husband and father with problems, but also with hope. Now I was a man with enemies living in his own house. But I was also a man with evidence and a plan. I pulled out my phone and sent a single text to Lila. Saturday night, let's do this. It was time to show Marta what happened when someone truly fell from grace. The country club looked exactly like what it was. Old money trying to pretend it was older than it actually was. Crystal chandeliers hung from coffered ceilings, and oil paintings of stern-faced men in hunting gear lined the walls. The kind of place where Marta felt at home, and I'd always felt like an imposter. Tonight, that was going to change. I stood in the parking lot, watching through the tall windows as Marta worked the room inside. She was in her element, moving from group to group with practiced grace, her red dress catching the light as she laughed at jokes and accepted compliments. The perfect hostess, the successful businesswoman, the tragic wife about to announce her escape from a toxic and controlling marriage. Except tonight, the script was going to flip. "You sure about this?" Lila appeared beside me, looking nervous in a way I'd never seen her before. "Once we do this, there's no taking it back." "I'm sure." I patted the flash drive in my jacket pocket. She made her choice when she decided to destroy me. Now she gets to live with the consequences. "What about Amelia? She's in there." I'd seen my daughter through the windows, standing near her mother like a bodyguard, scanning the room for threats that didn't exist. Or rather, for the wrong threats entirely. "Amelia made her choice too," I said, though the words tasted bitter. "Maybe when this is over, she'll understand what really happened. Maybe not. But I can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved." Lila nodded, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. "The AV equipment is all set up. I told them there was going to be a special presentation about the charity. When you give me the signal, I'll start the slideshow." "And you're sure the files will display properly?" "I tested everything twice. Text messages, bank records, photos, audio files, it's all there. By the time we're done, everyone in that room will know exactly who Marta really is." I took a deep breath, tasting the evening air. In a few minutes, I would walk into that room and detonate the nuclear bomb that would end my marriage, destroy my wife's reputation, and probably alienate my children forever. But the alternative was letting Marta succeed in her plan to paint me as a cruel and harmful man and a failure, to rewrite history so that I became the villain in our story. "Let's go," I said. The fundraiser was in full swing when we entered. The cause was something worthy, literacy programs for underprivileged children. But the real purpose was social networking. These people didn't come to help kids learn to read. They came to see and be seen, to make connections and advance their own interests. Perfect. The more people here, the bigger the audience for what was about to happen. "David!" Marta's voice cut through the crowd as she spotted me. She approached with her arms outstretched, playing the loving wife for the crowd. "I wasn't sure you were going to make it." "Wouldn't miss it for the world," I said, accepting her kiss on the cheek. Up close, I could smell Ben Morrison's cologne on her skin. "You look beautiful tonight." "Thank you." Her smile was radiant, but her eyes were calculating. "I hope you're feeling better. You seemed so stressed the other day." Planting seeds for her announcement, making sure people would remember that I'd seemed stressed when she revealed that she was leaving her controlling and emotionally harmful husband. "Actually, I feel great," I said. "Clearer than I have in months, like I finally see everything the way it really is." Something flickered in her expression. "That's wonderful, honey. Why don't you get a drink? I need to make sure everything's ready for the presentation." "What presentation?" "Oh, just a little something I put together. About the importance of literacy, about how reading can change lives." Her smile turned sharp. "About how sometimes we need to read between the lines to see the truth." So she was planning her own presentation. Probably a carefully crafted speech about her marriage, her fears, her difficult decision to leave. I wondered if she had slides prepared, maybe photos of the bruises she'd faked, recordings taken out of context to make me sound threatening. It didn't matter. My presentation was going to come first. I made my way through the crowd, shaking hands and making small talk with people who'd known me for years. Some of them seemed genuinely glad to see me. Others were polite but distant. I wondered how many of them had already heard Marta's version of our marriage troubles. "Dad?" Amelia appeared at my elbow, her face tight with concern. "What are you doing here?" "Supporting your mother's charity work, same as you. Mom said you might show up, that you might try to cause a scene." She moved closer, lowering her voice. "Please don't do anything embarrassing. These people are important to her career." "I wouldn't dream of embarrassing your mother," I said truthfully. "I'm just here to make sure everyone knows the truth." Amelia's eyes narrowed. "What truth?" Before I could answer, a commotion near the entrance caught my attention. Ben Morrison had arrived, looking every inch the successful businessman in his tailored suit. He moved through the crowd like he owned the place, accepting greetings and compliments with practiced ease. When he spotted Marta, his face lit up with what looked like genuine affection. They didn't embrace, too public, too risky, but I saw the way they looked at each other, the subtle intimacy of shared secrets. "Who's that?" I asked Amelia, pointing at Ben. "Ben Morrison. He's a developer, very successful. He's been helping Mom with some business connections." "I'll bet he has." The microphone squealed as someone tapped it, drawing everyone's attention to the small stage at the front of the room. Marta stood there, radiant in the spotlight, her smile warm and welcoming. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming tonight. Your support means the world to the children we're helping, and I can't tell you how much it means to me personally." Murmurs of approval from the crowd. Marta had always been good at this, at making people feel like they were part of something important. "Before we get to the main presentation," she continued, "I wanted to share something personal with all of you. Many of you have been friends of my family for years, and you've supported us through good times and bad." Here it comes, I thought, the victim's speech, the brave woman finally finding the courage to leave. I caught Lila's eye across the room and nodded. She moved toward the AV controls, her face pale but determined. "As some of you may know," Marta continued, "my husband David and I have been going through a difficult time. Marriage isn't always easy, and sometimes people change in ways that—" She paused, her voice breaking slightly. Perfect timing, perfect delivery. The crowd was hanging on every word. "Sometimes people change in ways that make it impossible to—" "Actually," I said, stepping forward, "I think there's been a misunderstanding." Every head in the room turned toward me. Marta's face went white, then red, then white again. "David," she said, her voice carefully controlled, "this isn't the time." "I think it's exactly the time." I walked toward the stage, feeling the weight of every eye in the room. "You want to talk about how people change, about reading between the lines?" I couldn't agree more. I stepped onto the stage and Marta backed away from the microphone. For the first time in months, she looked uncertain, off balance. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said into the microphone, "my wife is absolutely right. Sometimes people do change. Sometimes the person you thought you married turns out to be someone completely different." I looked directly at Marta, seeing the fear in her eyes. "Sometimes you discover that the woman you've loved for 15 years has been lying to you, cheating on you, and systematically planning your destruction for months." Gasps from the crowd. Marta stepped forward, trying to regain control. "David, you're having another episode. Please, let me help you." "Another episode?" I laughed, the sound harsh in the suddenly quiet room. "Is that what we're calling it when someone discovers the truth?" I nodded to Lila, who was standing by the AV controls. She hesitated for just a moment, then pressed a button. The first image appeared on the large screen behind me, a text message conversation between Marta and Ben Morrison. B. "Can't wait to see you tonight, beautiful." M. "Your husband looked pathetic at the grocery store yesterday. How do you stand it?" The room erupted in shocked murmurs. Marta lunged for the microphone, but I blocked her path. "Please," I said to the crowd, "let me show you what my wife has really been doing for the past 6 months." The images changed. Bank records showing fraudulent accounts opened in my name, photos of Marta and Ben together at restaurants and hotels, audio files of her laughing about her plan to take me for everything. With each revelation, the crowd's mood shifted. The sympathy that had been building for Marta evaporated, replaced by shock, disgust, and in some cases barely concealed satisfaction. Nothing people loved more than watching someone powerful fall from grace. "Stop," Marta said, her voice breaking. "Please, David, stop this." But I was just getting started. "This is my daughter Amelia," I said, pointing her out in the crowd. "Beautiful girl, smart, talented. Unfortunately, her mother has spent the last few months convincing her that I'm a controlling and emotionally harmful monster who threatens our family's safety." The screen showed text messages between Marta and Amelia, coaching sessions where my wife taught my daughter exactly what to say to make me look dangerous and unstable. Amelia's face crumpled as she saw her own words displayed for everyone to read. The careful lies her mother had fed her, the recording equipment she'd been asked to use, the role she'd been given in destroying her own father. "And this," I said as a final audio file began to play, "is what my loving wife really thinks of me." Marta's voice filled the room, crystal clear. "The best part is that he actually thinks he has a chance of keeping me, like I'm going to spend the rest of my life with someone who peaked in high school." Laughter from the recording, Ben Morrison's voice. What are you waiting for? Dump the dead weight. Soon, very soon. Then I can finally be with someone who's actually worth my time. The silence that followed was deafening. 300 people stared at Marta, seeing her not as the tragic victim she'd tried to portray, but as the calculating manipulator she really was. So yes, I said into the microphone, people do change. Sometimes you discover that the person you thought you knew never existed at all. I stepped down from the stage and walked toward the exit, leaving Marta standing alone in the spotlight, her carefully constructed world crumbling around her. Behind me, I could hear voices rising, people demanding explanations, friends and colleagues distancing themselves from the wreckage of her reputation. But I didn't look back. I'd said what I came to say, shown what I came to show. Now it was time for the final act. The aftermath came faster than I'd expected. By Sunday morning, the story had spread through our social circle like wildfire. My phone buzzed constantly with calls and texts, some supportive, some shocked, some clearly fishing for more details to feed the gossip mill. I ignored most of them. There was only one call I'd been waiting for. It came at 10:30 a.m. Ross, my son. Dad, what the heck happened last night? Mom's been calling me crying, saying you humiliated her in front of everyone she knows. I told the truth, I said simply. Everything I showed at that fundraiser was real, Ross. Your mother has been planning to destroy me for months. Silence on the other end of the line. Then, the stuff about the affair, the fake bank accounts, is that all true? Every word. I can send you copies of everything if you want to see for yourself. Jesus. Ross was quiet for a long moment. I knew something was wrong. The way she kept asking me questions about you, trying to get me to say you'd been acting strange or drinking too much. I thought she was just worried, but she was building a case. Yeah, God, Dad, I'm so sorry. I should have seen it. You weren't supposed to see it. She's very good at manipulation, your mother. She had everyone fooled, including me. What about Amelia? She's not answering her phone. I thought about my daughter's face when she'd seen those text messages on the screen. The moment she'd realized she'd been used as a tool against her own father. She needs time to process this. Finding out your mother isn't who you thought she was. It's not easy. Are you okay? I mean, really okay? I'm better than I've been in months, I said, and meant it. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I can breathe. After Ross hung up, I sat in my quiet house and waited. Marta hadn't come home the night before, probably stayed at Ben's place, or maybe Lila's, though I doubted Lila would be welcoming after her own role in the evening's revelations. The next call came an hour later. Unknown number, but I recognized the voice immediately. You son of a witch, Ben Morrison snarled. Do you have any idea what you've done? I have a pretty good idea, yes. Marta is destroyed, her career, her reputation, everything. And for what? Because you couldn't handle losing her to a better man? I laughed, genuinely amused. Is that what you think this was about? Jealousy. What else? You're a pathetic middle-aged loser who couldn't keep his wife satisfied, so you decided to burn everything down rather than accept it. Tell me something, Ben. Did you know about the financial fraud? The fake account she opened in my name? The loan she took out using forged signatures? Silence. Because that's a felony, I continued. Identity theft, bank fraud, forgery. She could go to prison for what she's done. And anyone who helped her, anyone who knew about it and didn't report it, well, they could be considered an accessory. You can't prove I knew anything about that. Can't I? Because I have text messages between you two discussing the best ways to hide assets, the most effective methods for making me look financially irresponsible. Want me to forward them to the district attorney's office? The line went quiet for a long moment. What do you want? Ben asked finally. I want you to disappear. I want you to end whatever relationship you have with my wife, leave town, and never contact my family again. And if I don't, then I release everything. The financial crimes, the conspiracy to commit fraud, the recorded conversations about destroying my reputation. I'll make sure every newspaper, every website, every gossip blog in the city gets copies. You're bluffing. Am I? Check your email in about 5 minutes. I'm sending you a preview of what I'll release if you're not gone by the end of the week. I hung up and immediately sent him a file containing the most damaging evidence I had. Bank records showing his involvement in the fraudulent accounts, text messages discussing their plan to frame me for financial crimes, photos of them together celebrating what they thought would be my destruction. My phone rang again almost immediately. Okay, Ben said, his voice tight with fear. Okay, you win. I'll leave town, end things with Marta. But this doesn't make you the good guy, David. You're still a vindictive bastard who destroyed his own wife to protect his ego. Maybe, I said. But I'm a vindictive bastard who's still standing while you're running away with your tail between your legs. The third call came that evening. Marta, finally. David! Her voice was small, defeated. We need to talk. Do we? Please. I'm at the Marriott downtown, room 412. Can you come over? I almost said no. Almost told her that we could communicate through lawyers from now on, that she'd forfeited any right to private conversations when she'd decided to systematically destroy me. But curiosity won out. I wanted to see what she had to say now that her carefully laid plans had crumbled. The hotel room was a mess. Empty wine bottles on the nightstand, tissues scattered across the bed, Marta's makeup smeared and her hair disheveled. She looked like she'd aged 10 years in the past 24 hours. You destroyed me, she said without preamble. My job, my friends, my reputation, everything I worked for gone. You destroyed yourself, I replied. I just made sure people could see what you really are. What I really am? She laughed bitterly. I'm a woman who fell out of love with her husband and made some bad choices trying to get out of a marriage that was suffocating her. You're a woman who committed multiple felonies to frame an innocent man for crimes he didn't commit. You're a woman who turned her own daughter into a tool against her father. You're a woman who was willing to destroy an entire family to get what you wanted. Marta was quiet for a long moment, staring at her hands. I never meant for it to go that far, she said finally. It started small, just the affair, just wanting something that made me feel alive again. But then Ben started talking about what we could have together if I was free, and the lawyer said I'd need documentation to get a good settlement, and it just escalated into identity theft and conspiracy to commit fraud. I was going to pay the money back after the divorce. It wasn't really stealing. Tell that to the FBI, her head snapped up. What? Financial crimes across state lines become federal cases, Marta. The fake accounts, the forged loans, the conspiracy to frame me. It's all federal now. I turned everything over to the authorities this morning. The color drained from her face. You can't be serious. Dead serious. You wanted to destroy me? Congratulations. You've destroyed yourself instead. She began to cry then, deep, wrenching sobs that might have moved me once. But that was before I'd learned what she was really capable of, before I'd seen how far she was willing to go to get what she wanted. What about the kids? She asked through her tears. What's going to happen to Amelia and Ross when their mother goes to prison? They'll learn that actions have consequences. Maybe it'll be a valuable lesson. Please, David, I'm begging you, don't do this. We can work something out. We can what? Go back to pretending we're happy while you plan my destruction? Go back to me being the pathetic husband who doesn't know his wife is cheating on him? I stood up, looking down at the wreckage of the woman I'd once loved. You made your choice, Marta. You chose to see me as an enemy to be destroyed rather than a husband to be divorced. Now you get to live with the consequences. I walked to the door, then paused. Oh, and Marta? Ben Morrison left town this morning. Apparently he decided you weren't worth the legal trouble after all. So you don't even get to keep the prize you were willing to destroy our family for? Her wail followed me down the hallway, but I didn't look back. 3 months later, I stood in a different courtroom than the one Marta had planned to destroy me in. This one was federal, and she was the defendant facing charges of identity theft, bank fraud, and conspiracy. Her high-powered attorney had managed to negotiate a plea deal. 2 years in minimum security prison, full restitution of the stolen funds, and a permanent criminal record. She looked small and broken in her orange jumpsuit, nothing like the confident, manipulative woman who had tried to frame me for her crimes. Amelia sat beside me in the gallery, her hand in mine. It had taken weeks of patient conversation and careful explanation, but she'd finally understood what her mother had really been doing. The betrayal had hit her hard, learning that she'd been manipulated into betraying her own father, but she was young and resilient. Ross was there too, along with Sal from the boxing gym and a few other friends who had stood by me through the whole ordeal. When the judge pronounced sentence, Marta turned to look at me one last time. I saw hatred in her eyes, but also something else. Recognition, maybe. The understanding that she had underestimated me one final fatal time. After the hearing, Amelia and I walked out of the courthouse together. "Do you think she'll ever forgive you?" she asked. "I don't know," I said honestly. "But I've stopped caring what your mother thinks of me. For the first time in years, I'm living my life for me, not for her approval." "Are you happy?" I thought about it. My marriage was over, my wife was going to prison, and my family would never be the same. But I was free from the lies, free from the manipulation, free from pretending to be someone I wasn't. "Yeah," I said. "I think I am." 6 months after that, I got a letter from Marta in prison. She'd found religion, she said. She'd realized the error of her ways and wanted to make amends. She was sorry for what she'd done, sorry for the pain she'd caused, sorry for everything. I read the letter once, then threw it in the trash. Some apologies come too late. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. I'd learned to live with that.